Hi, my name's Maria and this is my channel MH Books, and today I had to film a book haul because I'm not sure if this is gonna work because the pan gonna go all the way down. Yep, I managed to accumulate quite a few and I really need to put them away. So I'm gonna do this sort of in order so that because I read such an eclectic amount, I just have one classic on the top. 4 horrors, I think, and then the other categories were probably books about because they've been hyped a little bit, maybe Irish books and books that are on price lists, old price lists, not current price lists, because I'm reading a backlog of old price lists at the moment. Nearly everything was bought from a charity shop, so I didn't spend that much money. But I'm going to do it in sections, and I'll put the sections down below so the people who are only interested in the horror genre, and I know there's one or two of you only want to hear that bit. Actually it'll be near the beginning, but I'll put that where that is. And because I might need to break this up because it looks like quite a lot of books. Okay, I'm going to stop you in between because I'm afraid this part is going to drop on me. Just like to say welcome to anybody who's new to this channel who happened onto this accidentally. I always forget to do this. I'm still new and I forget just basic politeness sometimes, so sorry about that. I'm going to start with the horror books for those who are into this, because all the rest would have, they're not necessarily literary fiction, there's even one non-fiction there, but would have a very literary fiction bent to them and be more on that lines. And there's one Russian classic. So doing a Stephen King read along with a group, Goodreads group, for all his books from the beginning of when he began to publish to whenever we get to the end. So that's going to take 4 or 5 years. At the moment we're reading Firestarter, which happened to be one of my favourite ones. I haven't read it since the 1990s though, when I was backpacking around Australia, so I'm hoping it'll be as good as I remember. But meanwhile, I had to get myself a copy of the Bachman books, because the copy I have is a 1980s one that has Rage in it, and that book is extraordinarily rare. Rage is out of print at Stephen King's request because it's a story about a gunning in a school. So and it was found in a locker of a kid who was responsible for gunning in school, so he asked for it to be drawn out of circulation. So rightly or wrongly, I still have a copy of that. So I had to get another book because I didn't want to destroy that book because it had this. So that's why this is one of the few books I actually bought new. The next one I got secondhand from Chapters. It's the largest independent bookshop in Ireland. It's centred in Dublin. I'm not sure it's Charlie Byrne a larger secondhand chapter, because Chapters has a new section and a secondhand section. And Charlie Byrne's is in Galway, and it is a gorgeous shop as well. So you're in Galway, I recommend Charlie Byrne's. If you're in Dublin, I recommend Chapters for secondhand books. And so I got different seasons just to complete the collection. I just ramble on. Adam Nevill, I haven't actually filmed this as a wrap up yet, but I finished Banquet of the Damned, which I read for Thriller-a-thon. And Banquet of the Damned, unfortunately for me, is set in St Andrews, where I went to university. It's a very small town, and I am now seriously contemplating buying a limited edition copy of the book as a souvenir of when I lived there, because it was actually written while Andrew Nevill was doing his writing course in St Andrews. He was doing his masters, so he would have been there about 2 years before I started my PhD. So it is very contemporary to all the places I know, and I couldn't get a better souvenir of my time there. It also happens to be very well written. He is very good. I've only read 2 of his books. He's very good characterization, and that's what makes Stephen King. I'm going to show Joe Hill, which is Stephen King's son as it happens, and Adam Nevill. That's what makes a good horror writer. A horror writer has to write a good character that you can, with the right flaws, so you can genuinely be afraid for them, while understanding how they got themselves into these situations, but they have to have something redeeming about them, because ultimately horror writing is about good versus evil, or just the getting over the bad things in the world. I mean, they just make the bad things supernatural. I don't think I express that very well. It expresses very well in my head mind. So if only you could get into my head. So Adam Nevill is good at doing this. He has, what I've read, I've only read 2 of his early works. Back with the Dam was his first, and it was set where he was learning his craft. I've also read the more common one, because it's The Ritual, because it's a movie, so a lot of people have read that one. He has great characters. The characters he has have been limited in palette so far, and that they've all been music industry based. It talks a lot about male friendships, and it also, the actual dark element is, it has tendency to be cults. And again, in this one I see it's a cult again. So he may be limited to male characters, but he does them well. He writes well. The Ritual, it has a great beginning, bad ending. I would say that's the same for all Stephen King books as well. Not all, majority. I believe somebody I know who read this one, this may suffer from the same thing. But the setup is good. I will always be intrigued by a horror novel. Unfortunately, there's less women writing them. Shirley Jackson and women who do write them tend to be very good. But yeah, so that's why I picked up this. Break the rule, by the way, I have 3 now Adam Neville's on the shelf I haven't read. It's against my rules, but yeah. The latest from Joe Hill, which I picked up in the chapter's new section for a £5. It is 4 novellas. I liked, he is better than his father is Stephen King. I think he's better characterization than his father, or at least has a broader palette of characters. He can do women slightly better. Now, Stephen has actually improved an awful lot, as I've said before in videos, for female characters recently. So, but he does credit his ability to, Joe Hill does credit his ability to write female characters from his mother's writing. His mother is also a writer, Tabitha King. She's just less well known. So this is four short novels. I liked Nosferatu. I liked Horns. Didn't particularly like the Fireman of his. My friends, this is why I didn't pick it up immediately, who read horror a lot, are not quite enamored by the 4 short novels in this. But I would say I differ in them in that I actually read a lot more short stories than they would, and I actually write short stories, and as they tend to be horror, we'll see, but there's that one. Okay, I'm gonna stop you in between things, so I could just get my breath, and actually in this case get my coffee, which is over there. You can see the kitchen's over there. I got my coffee and I decided to do the Irish books next. So I have 3 Irish books, and at least one is probably literary fiction. I discovered when I was filming, I think for the bookshelf tag, that I have the first, the second of the Rediscovered Voices and the 4th of Rediscovered Voices in the Tramp Press collection. Tramp Press always has this lovely X, and usually bright spines, not always. And I didn't have the 3rd one, and I just was intrigued what the 3rd one was, and if I'm intrigued I end up buying the book. So this book, most of these books I would be talking about would be bought in charity shops and bought quite cheaply. This was bought new. I buy my Tramp Press books new when possible from independent shops. I can't quite remember where I got this one from. It might not have been independent so much as Eason's. Let's see, I can remember afterwards. This is a book of short stories, and I think from this one, I love the way the Tramp Press do their backs and what they say about their books. Okay, so it's books, short stories set in the 1970s, written by Maeve Kelly, and they are all based on women, but quite an eclectic set of women. So they richly illustrate the plight of marginalised women in contemporary Irish society, from island life to the west of Ireland. I had to adjust for my glasses. They're progressive lenses. To dingy student accommodation in the centre of London, from the War of Independence to the IRA letter bombings in England in the 1970s, and the impoverished life of rural farmers to the world of successful young writers and passionate artists, Kelly tells the stories of diverse, fascinating range of characters. She pivots from deep humanity reminiscent of Mary Lavin to bleak, incisive, evocative Edna O'Brien. Orange Horses is a beautiful, sad and funny collection of stories of the undervalued, the oppressed and the quietly heroic. So I thought this maybe be really good to read for International Women's Day early next year, and that's in March. I should remember that. I haven't been in a women's lib organisation. You think I remember the day of International Women's Day? It's when we always had our big event. Can't remember it. I also have got myself an ARC. I'm not sure if I got myself an ARC through legitimate means or not. I would appreciate people's comments on this. This ARC has come through a charity shop. So they did sell it, but they're not a profit maker. This charity shop has a lot of ARC with a lot of press media stuff. I think actually they're getting an awful lot from a single person, and I think it's probably a big reviewer for one of the newspapers. I have reason to believe that because whoever it is, or at least one person who's donated to that shop, is putting their stuff and the stuff that they get inside the book, so that if you get the book, you actually get all the bump that went with it, and that's what. And there's the reason. One of the books I looked at before. So this is the only second time I've ever done this. The first time I did this, I got the ARC. I actually bought the book because I liked it. So if I like the book, I think I'd buy the book because I'm just not 100% happy whether I should be getting ARCs, because that's not what the publisher intended for them, or is it? You know, I don't know. So yeah, this is actually released already. So it's released on the 23rd of August. They don't appear in the shop till they're released as well. So maybe that makes a difference. And I go to the shop on such a regular basis. Staff has offered to reserve books for me, but I said you can't have a look at my book list, it's too long. So this is, what do they call it? Future Popes of Ireland. So it's Future Popes of Ireland, and it's by Darragh Martin. People have probably seen this already. They watch British YouTubers, because Mercedes Book of Musings, or Mercy's Book of Musings, Simon Savage, A Savage Reads, my favourite person who was the Comfy Reading Nights, I have blanked on her name, and I can see it. She's lovely. Her hair is lovely at the moment. Oh God, I will have to. I can't remember her name. I'll have to. I can't believe I blanked her name. I will definitely put her name all across the screen in big letters. Okay. Yeah, they've been reading it. I'm intrigued. I do say it's big-hearted, funny, sad and ambitious novel. It's very Irish from what I've seen. I flicked through. It's about a mother who wants at least one of her kids, I presume, the one who's called John Paul III, to be a pope. It's big, it's Irish, it's full of Spice Girls references. It's going back and forth through time. You can see from the chapter titles. It's like, is it Talia 90? There's really, really big events at communion addresses, really big events that would be really important in Ireland. So I'm dying to read this, see is it any good. And I tell you how, as an Irish person, this holds up. I believe Simon Savage gave this 4.5 stars because I'm friends with him on Goodreads. So I don't remember what the others two said. This I picked up from the Irish section in the same shop. It is a published copy in this case. Hellfire by Mia Gallagher. I was considering at the beginning of this year doing a Reading Ireland project. I decided it was just a little bit too much to exclude every other country. So and I was going to read a statistically relevant sample of Irish authors, and I was going to go and look for, you know, the correct percentage of LGBT authors, the correct percentage of 50% male, female, the correct percentage from each county But it was too ambitious project, and it would have taken me 3 or 4 years. But I think that's where I came across Gallagher's name, and I was longing to pick it up. And then, as I always do, I looked at my Goodreads app on my phone to see what my friends had said, and the top review of one of my friends from Goodreads was it was the best novel that came out of Ireland for 10 years, but they thought it wasn't as well known because it uses Dublinese. So I'm going to read you some of the Dublinese because I am from Dublin, to see if you can understand it. For some reason I'm picking the second half of page 112. I wonder why. I've tried, sorry, I have to go straight more into my Dublin accent. It's very soft, my accent, so we'll try. I've tried to come up with the reasons. He wanted to go straight. He was sick in a way that was controlling his life. She threatened to leave him unless he made a fresh start. He was too proud to give it a shot. He was Jimmy Macaroni. After all, the poppermost, not some strung out waster living on borrowed time. And her? She was lonely. She couldn't bear the idea of a granny saying, "I told you so." She wanted him back. The shame of being seen to be left was worse than the shame of having him around. She swore blind that he'd change for good, and she believed in. Some of these reasons stick, some don't. But maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe it's just that he did love her in his own way, and she loved him in hers. And that's why he had to go clean. He had to come out, and that's why she took him in after saying she wouldn't. They'd done it to themselves, sure, for the comfort of having him back where they used to. But maybe they'd done it for each other too. So to me it's easy enough to read, but seemingly it's hard for some people. So there you go. That's what page 112 to 113, beginning of 113 reads like. Alright, I'm just filming these extra little bits because I've decided to split into two. So thank you for watching the first half of the book haul. Yeah, I buy more books than I can ever possibly read. I read slow, even faster. We just have difficulty with some of these. Subscribe if you want to, like if you liked it, and thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoy whatever you're reading and that you enjoy buying books too. Bye.